concept to me of being a motivational speaker, I prefer to be known as a motivational trainer. You're going to be learning some tips, tools, and strategies that you could implement the second you walk out of here.
I want to make this different. I want to make it interactive so you guys are learning. The only reason I'm up here today is to do everything I can to help you be better. I don't give fluff. I don't give generic template stuff. I don't do that.
When you're in business for yourself, the secret sauce is you. Why do you do what you do? You stand out by being yourself and being human. That's your job, is to capture people's attention with engaging stories.
The number one entrepreneurial quality is a willingness to embrace struggle. Use fear of failure as fuel to be better. What's the next motivator? What's the next carrot dangling? What's your why?
So mindfulness is a word that is very threatening to professionals. And again, for the life of me, I really can't understand why, but it is. So most people, when they associate mindfulness, they think of meditation and yoga, which, God forbid, that's so terrible. But that's what they associate, okay? You know what mindfulness is? Mindfulness is a sticky note. Putting a sticky note on your desk to be mindful to do something. Mindfulness is putting a reminder in your phone to make sure you do something. How many of you do either of those? So probably a lot more people practice mindfulness than they think, but unfortunately, unfortunately there's a standard of what people perceive as mindfulness. This is emotional intelligence at its best, right? So this is what I do. I have one technique I use, and I call it fooling myself. So this is what I'll do. When you start getting that feedback that could trigger you and make you defensive, I actually already have it ready to say, so I distract myself. I'll say, you know what, thank you, that was really helpful. It'll help me be a better learner or help me be a better whatever. That's what I'm ready to say. So I'm still active listening. I want to hear what they have to say, but it distracts me from being triggered emotionally, and then I make a mental note of it. But it goes back to what I said about validation before. People want to have a voice and be validated. So when you're giving them a chance to give feedback, and then by you acknowledging, and by the way, validation doesn't mean agreement. When you validate someone's feedback, it doesn't mean you agree with them. It just means you're being empathetic and validating it. So that, to me, is very important in that moment.
How much does it mean if you had, I don't care if it was Mike or anybody else, a manager, someone on a higher level than you at the bank, walks into your office and says, Kate, I got a problem. I would love to get your feedback on how to solve it. Do you not feel like $1 million in that situation? Right? And frankly, the better example would be someone who does it when it's not even your department. Maybe it's has nothing to do with marketing or sales. It could be an operational question. Now think about that for a second. Let's not pigeonhole people communication-wise. Kate, she's in marketing. Well, I would bet a lot of money she knows a heck of a lot more about life in professional business than marketing. But people probably don't ask her, because that's your department, that's your know-how, that's your knowledge. So the point I'm trying to make is empower millennials, empower people that work for you, give them a voice, walk up to them. I tell parents with their kids, come home from work, go up to your 8th grade child and say, oh my God, I had the worst situation at work with my boss today. Here's what happened. What do you think I should have done? Like an 8th grader is going to be like, huh, you're asking me? Why not? The 2-word phrase is, be curious. When you do not know why someone is behaving the way they do, when you don't know why someone's attitude or behavior won't change, be curious. Think to yourself, what's going on here? Ask questions. Ask them. Get information. Don't assume. Don't use bias, don't label, ask questions. If you want behavior change, you gotta have the motivator, but you gotta have the why, and it's got to be clear. And I'll tell you what doesn't count as a why. What doesn't count as a why is, I wanna be more physically fit. That's not the why. It's not. You know what's a why? For people that are overweight, we know this. It's unfair in society. There's conceptions and perceptions about people that are overweight. So if someone wants to lose weight and they said, hey, I want to lose weight because I want a chance at a promotion. I don't want to be stuck in this job, and I think I need to lose weight to be more physically fit to get that promotion. Well, that's a why. But you've got to have a tangible, articulated why. Does anybody know what motivational interviewing is? It is what my entire training and coaching philosophy is based on. Okay? It's something I've studied, it's something I practice. People use motivational interviewing, it's in the medical profession. It's used very often with medical doctors, counselors, therapists. And what they do, what they use motivational interviewing for, is to create change talk. But the key to motivational interviewing is that you let people realize the things on their own. You know, instead of going up to someone, you know what? You're on social media all day, Matt. You need to change. You need to stop doing that. You know, instead of pointing out people's flaws and explaining to them and putting in their face all the damage, you use motivational interviewing so people come to the conclusions on their own. So people do critical thinking on their own. I talk about hierarchy in our society because you start out with parents who tell you what to do. And then you go to school and you have teachers who tell you what to do. And then you get a job and you have bosses who tell you what to do. So you're always having people tell you what to do. So the idea here is one of the ways to remove the hierarchy of boss, manager to employee is to just, everybody's on the same level. So instead of it being an interrogation and the manager's just asking all these questions to the employee, the bolded questions, I want the manager to share their answers too. All you need to do when you have to have a talk with someone that's either good or neutral is just say, hey, can we chat a few minutes or later today or tomorrow? I just want to pick your brain about a few things. Because pick your brain, you are going to be picking their brain. You're going to be asking them a whole bunch of questions and sharing some stuff. So when you say, can I pick your brain about a few things, they feel like their voice is being heard. You're empowering them to give feedback, okay? And then there's nothing wrong. You're just going to pick their brain a few things. And then all they're thinking about is, and if they say, well, what do you want to pick your brain about? You know what I'd say? I would say, actually, I've been studying recently information about motivation in the workplace, and I have some ideas, and I just want to get your take on it. That's it. That's all you'd have to say. So you don't have to hide it. Have you ever had a conversation with someone where you're trying to ask them something, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. They just got nothing for you. You're asking a question, they just don't know how to answer. They're like, yeah, I don't know. There's a concept I want to teach you that you guys can all use for communication. It's called heavy lifting. And I'm going to give you an example. If you guys look at the list of questions in front of you, you see one of the questions on there. I'm just going to look at these. One of the questions on there is, what are the things that demotivate you? Okay? So if the person, because they're not ready for that. Most people are going to be like, I don't know. So if you say, what are the things that demotivate you, and they don't know, this is where heavy lifting comes in, and you would give them some ideas. So meaning like a lot of people are demotivated if they're micromanaged. A lot of people are demotivated if they're not appreciated for their work. Do you know what I mean? So heavy lifting is when people are struggling with an answer. Heavy lifting is giving them a couple of ideas to stimulate a thought process. So it's a very effective, because you guys might do this and you might stumble and be like, I don't know, and the other person could do a heavy lifting technique. Does that make sense? Reflective listening is when you repeat something back. So if I say, Jan, so what I heard you say is that by Vanessa taking copious notes, you didn't feel judged. That's reflective listening. But here's the thing about reflective listening. To me, reflective listening is a great communication tool, because if you repeat back what the person says, you win either way. They're like, yes, that's exactly what I meant, or no, it isn't. And it gives you a chance to get them to correct it. Active listening, to me, note-taking is the most powerful form of active listening. However, I think you made a great point, Jan, because sometimes when you take notes, people can feel judged or like, what are you writing down over there? Like, that doesn't feel good. What I do when I'm on appointments with clients or sales or something like that, and I take notes on my phone a lot. What I do is I'll take out my phone and I say, listen, is it okay if I take notes on my phone? I just don't want to, I want to remember what we're talking about, and I don't want you to think I'm texting or something. I say that all the time. Talk about perception, how bad that perception could be. So point is, Vanessa, that's something you might want to incorporate and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take notes because I just want to remember what you're saying, just so there's no feeling of judgment or anything like that. What is the typical first question when you are networking with someone? What do you do?
That's what we all ask. What a snooze. Like, we all ask it, but why? That's not the most important thing to learn about something. That will come up in the course of conversation anyway, because Vanessa and Jeanette have told us that if you talk about what they suggested, it's going to lead to that anyway. So Jan over there has come up with the greatest singular answer to what do you do. I always give her credit for this. So this is what she said. When someone says to her, what do you do? She says, do you mean for work or for fun? Pretty slick, right? And because don't we want to shift the conversation to something fun? The problem is when we talk to people, we want to talk about what feels safe, which is our business, which is what we understand, and which is what we're talking about all day. Stop worrying about feeling safe. Okay? Start being a human, authentic, genuine person that's vulnerable enough to let people get to know you and form a relationship with you. No, you know when I go to a networking event, you know what my goal is? My goal is when I leave, do I want to hang with that person? Forget business. Would I want to hang with that person? Would I enjoy their company? Okay? Because at the event itself, I am not worried about closing a deal. I am not worried about defining whether Rebecca can do something to help me. I am worried about forming relationships, building connections, and letting people see who I genuinely am. We're always told to be memorable. I don't really care about being memorable. Because you know why? Because if I meet 5 of you tonight and I give you all my business cards and you get home and you're talking to someone and say, oh boy, saw the speaker tonight, he was great, and so on and so forth. Well, that doesn't mean you're going to do anything with me or for me. It just means you remember me. So being memorable, that's not really what you're after. Okay? How do you motivate people? And think about what Prudence is talking about. All of you in this room who know some or all of you, I'm sure you all want to help each other. Like, I'm sure there's no convincing of that. But Christy here, Christy gets home and she's really overwhelmed because she likes so many people in the group. She's like, where do I begin? I only have so much time. Because Christy has personal responsibilities. She has life responsibilities. And so to actually engage in trying to really go out of your way and help me get a job, that takes time. That takes genuine effort. So how do you motivate someone to how do you motivate Christy, Prudence, to say, Christy, I know you have so many people you could help, but you really should help me.
Move in with them.
Well, I mean, and I don't mean it in a selfish way, because I don't think anybody in here is selfish. That's not my point. But it is tough. There are only so many hours in the day. So part of what you're trying to do, Prudence brought up a great one, is how do you engage and motivate other people? Now with LinkedIn, forget about the profile. I'm not even talking about the profile. I'm talking about when you want to motivate people to, as Prudence said, what's your LinkedIn message look like? Is that motivating? Is that engaging? Or is that something that everybody sees? When's the last time you've actually shared your LinkedIn reach out message or outline or template or structure and said, hey, why don't you look at this? Does this look like it's kind of unique or engaging? I would do that. Because same thing, just like HR people, your colleagues are getting this stuff all day long.
There's 3 kinds of people in the world, right? There's the kids who are really good-hearted kids. Kids that, just have the know-how and wisdom to be kind and sweet to other kids, okay? Very small minority. They're out there, but they have it. Then there's the kids who are the complete opposite. They're just jerks. And a lot of these kids that are jerks, frankly, are probably jerks because of the role models they have at home. Okay? Not an excuse, but a reality of the situation. Influences they have with friends, peer pressure, things like that, but they're jerks. Okay? But the big group, this is the one I want to focus on tonight. The big group are the kids that don't know what to do. They don't understand these other kids. And when we don't understand other people, when we make assumptions about other people, we tend to say weird things. We tend to say odd things. And the example in this movie, in one of the opening scenes, one of the kids is given the kid with the facial deformations, his name is Augie, a tour of the school, and the kid looks at Augie and says, what kind of food do you eat? as if that would have anything to do with facial deformations. How many of you here that work with millennials, if you were to walk by someone's desk and see them on the computer, would worry or have worried at some point that, are they doing work? Are they surfing the net? Are they on social media? How many people either worry about that or have worried about that?
So the 1 to 10 technique is a method of asking the question, on a 1 to 10 scale, what is the willingness you'd be willing to do what I'm asking? All right? Now here is why this is a very effective technique. We'll test all your critical thinking right out of the gate. So if I said that and your son or daughter said 4, few of you, what would that mean to you if they answered 4? Not really much of a chance? Anybody else?
It's almost halfway.
Yeah. Okay, here's what a 4 means. The door's open. That's what the 4 means. If it's a 2 to a 5, the door's open. Think about it. Because wouldn't they just say a 1 or a 0 if there was no chance? Right? I'm challenging you all to go have a conversation with your children in the next few days that goes something like this. Hey, you know, I've been thinking. So I went to this parenting workshop the other night because I really want to be a better parent for you. And it occurred to me, if I was to ever have to talk to you about something, tell me, what would be best? Like, where would you want to talk about it? When would you want to talk? What time of day? Is there a time where you empower them? Just ask them the questions. Whoever does that. Because we know how we feel about it, but we're not asking our kids. If someone was talking to you about something important, I bet you'd want them to get right to the point and be direct. How many of you would want people to be direct with you? Right? Everybody always says that. Here's the thing about being direct. We want to be genuine. We want to be authentic. We don't want to play games with people. But direct is not always the way to go. Because when you get right into a conversation, think of the perception of a child. If you go up to your child and say, hey, I need to talk to you about something for a second. How many times do you say that when something good's going to happen? Not often. This is a big problem with teachers. When teachers need to talk to students about something, it's usually bad. So unless a teacher's doing that on a regular basis, or unless you're going up every day and doing that, the defenses go up. The closed-off nature of your kids. When you validate someone's opinion or you empathize, it doesn't mean you agree, right? It just means you're validating. Okay, so what is absolutely essential to make this technique work is patience. You know your kids. First try, it's not happening. You start trying this, you go home, you got to go 3 tries. But if they try to outwit you and outplay you, they will win. So just don't get triggered. Just stay emotionally intelligent, even-keeled. You know it's going to happen. So it's not like you get in the conversation and you're surprised. So if you know it's going to happen, prepare yourself ahead of time. Take that 30 seconds to relax, reset, refocus. Say, I know what I'm in for and I'm going to be okay.